Welcome to Word Alive with Fidelia. Thank you for tuning in. My talk today is titled True Greatness. What is greatness? It is the quality of being great, like distinguished or eminent. So, the greatness is a concept of a state of superiority affecting a person or an object. You say something is great or someone is great. So greatness can be attributed to individuals who maybe possess a kind of ability to be better than others, that makes them stand out, something that made them beyond the ordinary. So you hear people say or people are being told that you are great. It could be maybe their positive contributions or level of influence, like wealth they have amassed, academic excellence, and so much different ways, different areas people can be great. So in the eyes of the world, greatness is viewed by who you are, where you are from, like maybe people from royal palace, they say they're great people, or intellectual achievements or success. Say you're great. However, in God's eyes and in the Bible, greatness is seen differently. It is not determined by who you are or how much power, money, or influence that you have. We can see examples from the Bible. Ordinary people God used to do great things and changed the course of history. People like Abraham, simple man, becoming father of the great nations. David, the shepherd young boy, who brought Goliath down. Moses, a stammerer. Elijah, and he led the people out of Israel. So ordinary people doing extraordinary things that made them to become great. In the opposite, in the world, you have to do something great first before you are recognized as being great. So many people were used by God to bring greatness to others and to their communities. Hence, God does not judge man by looks or wealth. He uses the simple, the meek, and the weak to bring greatness so that he can turn their inability and their weaknesses to strength. Look at the disciples, were just ordinary fishermen. So, Matthew 23:11-12 says, "But he that is greatest among you shall be your servant, and whosoever shall exalt himself shall be humbled, and he that humble himself shall be exalted." I actually spoke one time about the spirit of humility, how we should cultivate the spirit of humility in our service. In John 13:4-17, Jesus gave an example by walking the talk himself. He got up from the meal he was having with his disciples, took off his outer clothing, wrapped a towel around himself, and stood down to wash the feet of the disciples. And when he came to Simon Peter, he said, "Lord, you are not going to wash my feet." But Jesus told him, "You do not realize now what I'm doing, but you will later." Peter said, "No, Master, you shall not wash my feet." And Jesus answered him, "Unless I wash your feet, you have no part in me." Immediately Simon Peter replied, "In that case, not just my feet, but my hands and my head as well." And he commanded them to wash the feet of others through humble service. In also Mark 10:37, you see when James and John asked Jesus to let one of them sit at his right hand and the other at the left side in his glory. But Jesus answered him that it is not for him to grant, but it's for those who have been prepared. And in verse 44 to 45, he told them, whoever wants to be first must be slave of all. Because for even the Son of Man, he told them, did not come to be served, but to serve and give his life as a ransom for many. That is amazing. That even the Son of God himself did not come to be served. True greatness in the world is to acquire physical wealth and how much you are valued financially. But the Bible tells us that true greatness is to become a servant of all. The greatest example of all was our Lord Jesus Christ, who gave himself for ridicule and died a shameful death on the cross to bring us salvation. But the nature of man is to be proudful or boastful. But by the Spirit of God in us, he puts that pride that gratifies the flesh under control, so that God alone will be exalted. Like at work or in an organization, even in the church or family, people want to be acknowledged that they are in charge and others must take instructions from them. Everybody wants to be in control and they want other people to respect them. When they do something, they want to be acknowledged loudly so that they can take full glory. But Jesus wants us to be good examples. So if we are leaders in any place or in any higher role that he has entrusted to us, he wants us to be servant leader. Just like the sheep follow the leading of their shepherd. Do not be a manager or a leader that sits in the office and never know what the team are doing or going through. We put big names and titles by our names and on the door. Why? So that people would know who we are and to be feared and respected as such. In Matthew 23, 1 to 10, Jesus said to the crowd and to his disciples, he said, the teachers of the law and the Pharisees, they sit in Moses' seat. So you must be careful, therefore, to do everything they tell you because they are sitting on Moses' seat. So it's expected they will say the right thing. But do not do what they do, for they do not practice what they preach. He says they tie up heavy, cumbersome loads and put them on other people's shoulders, but they themselves are not willing to lift a finger to move them. He said everything they do is done for people to see. They make their phylacteries wide, their tassels on their garments long. They love the place of honor at banquets. And the most important seats in the synagogues, they want to take it. So they love to be greeted with respect in marketplaces and to be called Rabbi by others. But we need to serve each other. No one should think of himself more highly than they should. Romans 12:3 says, it says, but rather to rate his ability with sober judgment, each according to the degree of faith given to him by God. So true greatness involves placing others before you. It calls for humility, self-confidence, and knowing who you are. Integrity is the first step to true greatness. God has called us to practice a servant attitude while leading others. So, brothers and sisters, the true measure of greatness is not by self-promotion. Whether people appreciate or acknowledge you or not, you are already great and unique in your own ways. And your worth is not to be tied to earthly positions or big titles. Psalm 84 verse 10 says, "Better is one day in your courts, God, than 1,000 elsewhere. I would rather be a gatekeeper in your house than dwell in the tents of the wicked." Billy Graham, one of the greatest preachers of all times, said, "True greatness is not measured by headlines, person commands, or the wealth he or she accumulates." He says the inner character of a person on the unguarding morals and spiritual values and commitment is a true measure of greatness. And in the word of Martin Luther King Jr., he said, "Not everybody can be famous, but everybody can be great, because greatness is determined by what? Service." Amazing. So let us go out there and be God's hands and feet by serving everyone in whatever role you are, small or big, in humility. And when you do so, our Father in heaven will always reward us, because He sees every little and big things that we do in the open and in the secret places. And Him alone is the promoter of all, because promotion comes from no one but God, and such that we last and not judged by what we perish. Thank you so much for listening. Have a very blessed week ahead.